month's chapter of Dragon Ball Super, the grand tournament between Universe 7 and 6 continues, as Goku has a Super Saiyan-sized battle with the seemingly good-natured Frost. For the very first time since the inception of the Dragon Ball Super manga series, the manga is now officially behind the anime version, which might make this chapter a little boring for those who are also watching the anime series, as there really isn't much of a difference between this manga chapter and what actually happens in the anime series. So if you haven't read this week's chapter, if you're exclusively looking at that, big spoiler warning going ahead. So this week's chapter was really exciting. It was Goku versus Frost, Frost versus Piccolo, and the beginning of Vegeta versus Frost. Frost is basically just completely dominating the tournament, and that's because he has decided to reveal his true form, the form of a cheater. That's right, Frost is not only super powerful, he's also a super bullshit artist. His seemingly good-natured attitude and buddy-buddy way of doing things is actually all a bunch of bullshit. He's actually been cheating this entire time in this arc, and that's because in his gauntlets is this little hidden needle which actually emits this poison, which allows him to knock out his opponents and basically just kick them right out of the ring. While I'm not a very big fan of these developments, I am a fan of the action in this week's chapter. If there's one thing that I can say about the Dragon Ball Super manga, it's consistently better than the anime version in terms of the action and the artwork. But then again, it's a manga series. There is no animation. It's strictly artwork. The good news is, it all looks really good here. It's super fast, it's super fluid, and really fun to read. The initial battle between Goku and Frost is really awesome, basically just sizing each other up, lots of ki blasts, but there's a lot of moments in this battle I really like. The first scene where Frost starts to charge up against Goku and uses his own ki blasts to blast himself in the air to build momentum for an even larger attack, which is followed by another volley of ki blasts from Frost, which Goku just effortlessly knocks away in a bunch of different places. I love the shot of the dome and you can see all of the ki blasts exploding into the walls. Something that would have looked really cool in the anime version. And the rest of the episode is basically just Goku completely outclassing Frost in just about every single way. Literally stepping out of the way like a frickin' matador and just smacking him on the neck. Goku has complete control of this battle. That is until Frost decides to use his secret cheating abilities where he punches Goku right in the hand, which ends up using the needle, poisoning Goku, giving him the opportunity to kick him right out of the ring. At this point in the story, people still believe that Frost is a good guy. He just happens to have some weird, crazy secret ability. But Jacko the Galactic Patrolman is paying attention, and that's all gonna end up biting Frost in the ass at the end of his battle with Piccolo, who, unfortunately, just like the anime version, is very underused in the manga. Basically, in the second half of this week's manga, Piccolo is defeated the same way as Goku. He tries to use some of his tried and true attacks. He even decides to leave on his weighted armor, something that they didn't even, do in the anime version. Basically, he immediately took off his armor and got to charging a special beam cannon. No, basically Piccolo is just running around, dodging attacks, and trying to stop Frost with his stretchy arm abilities. Frost ends up poisoning him and taking him right out of the ring. But this is when Jacko the Galactic Patrolman actually notices that Frost is cheating, and the referee decides to check it out. He assesses that no, this is not a natural part of Frost's body, so he has officially been disqualified, which technically makes Piccolo the winner. However, Vegeta, just like in the anime version, is not going to stand for this. He doesn't want Frost to get off that easily, so he decides that he's actually going to battle him in the very next chapter, which, if it's anything like the anime version, is bound to be very short-lived, but probably pretty freaking awesome. I also just love some of the little story elements in this chapter. The fact that Frost does not even give a shit about this tournament. He just wants to get through it, be done with it, and go back to doing what he does, which is being an amazing bullshit artist and trying to make everybody think that he's like the best hero in the universe, when really he's one of the most underhanded and sneaky villains that we've seen from the entire series. Basically, Frieza is the same no matter what universe he's in. And so what's the rundown on this month's chapter of Dragon Ball Super, just like the anime version? And it's really shocking to me that after all of these months, the anime version has not only passed this point, but also started up another fight, which probably will get started up in the next chapter. Hell, they might even conclude it. With how fast this manga series goes, they get right through the fights. The good news is, this is a really fun manga to read, because it's got some great classic Dragon Ball action, with lots of amazing artwork and big flashy attacks, which is exactly what we want to see from Dragon Ball. I kind of wish they would take a note from this series and try to use these mangas as kind of like a storyboard for the anime. Basically, from this point on, the manga series is going to be just a little bit behind each time, and it is worth mentioning that there are some minor differences from the manga version, aside from how the story is being told and, of course, the action. There are some aesthetics which are completely different in the manga version, such as the actual look of the stadium in the series, which basically is just these big grandstands with some pyramids hanging out, which, honestly, I like that look a lot. I think it really works. It makes sense that a god of destruction or a god of destruction's attendant would actually make something that looks Egyptian, because both Beerus and Champa are totally based on, like, Egyptian-like designs. So I actually really like that a lot. But really, this chapter was okay. Basically, just if you've seen the anime version, you've seen this chapter right here. It's just a super condensed version with some minor differences. But it's still worth a read, if only to look at all of the cool artwork and all of the cool action scenes. I especially love the battle between Goku and Frost. So it's kind of hard to say which version of the series is best at this point. I have to say that I think the animation, or really I need to say the artwork in the manga version, is just cleaner and better, and it makes sense. It's a manga, they have more time to work on it, there's no color, they just get to focus on black and white, and everything looks really clean and consistent. And as much as I love the Dragon Ball Super anime version, we all have to admit, it's definitely tickling our Dragon Ball funny bone, but it's definitely got some animation and some artwork issues, and it's not the prettiest series to look at. I still think it's enjoyable and fun as hell to watch, but it certainly has a lot more to prove, especially when it wants to stand toe-to-toe to the manga version of Dragon Ball Super. That being said, this was still a really fun read of Dragon Ball Super. If you were just reading the manga, check out this week's chapter. It is pretty freaking awesome. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Entertaining as hell. If I only had one major complaint, and this is more like a fan nitpick, it's that they're basically treating Piccolo like he's some sort of stray dog. Like, nobody wants him around. He's not useful to anyone anymore. And you know what? That's bullshit. Piccolo is freaking awesome, and if there was ever a character who needed some development, or maybe even an arc dedicated exclusively to them, it's Piccolo, and it can happen in Dragon Ball Super. The sky is the limit. Who knows what's going to happen at the very end of this tournament arc? Frankly, I'm now more excited to see what's going to happen after this tournament, as opposed to actually how this tournament is going to wrap up. But I'm still excited to see what's going to happen. There's still lots of hype around Dragon Ball Super, so let's make sure to check it out, guys. So, you heard my thoughts about this month's chapter of Dragon Ball Super, but I want to hear from you guys. How do you like the manga version in comparison to the anime version? Do you prefer one over the other? What did you think of the battles in this month's chapter? The battle between Goku and Frost, Frost and Piccolo, and what do you want to see in the manga version battle between Vegeta and Frost? Make sure to tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby.